In order to have a collision between the axis of the player and the enemies, it's needed that its x is at least smaller than the most right part of the enemies, and we only have the left part of the enemies in enemies x. So in order to understand their right part, we should add their size. So we really need that the left part of the player is left from the right part of the enemies. Well, actually this is needed for collision checks in general, but our current collision checks is between a player that is stuck on the left part of the playing field, so he definitely is left enough. Actually, you need to write the opposite check. It's much more important whether at least the right part of the player is right enough to reach at least the left part of the enemies. And when you have this third check, you need to think of a much more important thing to write between all those checks. I hope you remember what we used for our collision check, whether we used OR sign with two vertical lines or ampersand, shift and 7, in order to check whether at least one of the conditions is true or whether all of the conditions is true. So yeah, finish this check and think of how to use division from my y. To understand which of the enemies we hit. You should be careful because this number is not going to be integer, and perhaps it's not easy to just use mat4 to round it to the closest smaller integer. Perhaps we should do something better than just flooring this number.